Okay. Okay. So it's Mike B again. So I've already downloaded the purchase order report and found it off the purchase order object. So now I'm going to do the same with the standard contract. So first thing to be done is go remote. Here we are. And I'm going to so standard contract is off the try contract object. There's try contract, which is also where we had the purchase order. Interesting. Okay. So, but now what I'm looking for is standard contract. So I think it's on the second page. Yep. There's try standard contract. There we go. And again, we go to the includes section. And we have where it hangs off of this form. I'm going to go ahead and click it. And it brings it up within Document Manager. And again, normally what you might do in this process is check it out from here. And then download it. And then modify it within Eclipse. And then you'd check it in here in order to toggle the version number and get a fresh copy in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and just download this one as well. Downloading it to, and this is where we were doing our Tririga work for the upgrade. It's called Standard Contract version 1.8. I'm going to put that in the same folder as I put the purchase order. There we go. And it's downloaded. Then I'm going to open it up here. So it's still in this test local project. So if we went to Navigator, let's see it here. And I'm going to create, I can now rename that to purchase order. And I'm going to make a new project. Again, it's a report project, and call it test local standard contract. And do that same process, import what I just downloaded from Form Builder. It's an archive file. And since I'd already been positioned on standard contract, that's where I'm importing it to. And there it is. I'm going to go finish. And when I created the project new for the first time, it put a hidden file called .project into that folder. It's now being overwritten by what is the true in-use version of the project for the standard contract. Let me say yes. And it only did it to that one. So now what I like to do is put things into separate windows and just open things separately. So now we've got purchase order in this window behind me. Oh, and interesting. Even though I changed the name here, I didn't refresh it. I didn't save it. So my bad. I'm going to close it without saving. Or I wonder what would happen if I just simply restart. No. Should remember your settings inside Eclipse. So I think I should come back up with two windows, but with the directories refreshed correctly for each of the form reports. There we go. And it, oh. And you can see that it did that. So I'm in this new workspace I created just for today. I'm in test local standard contract and test purchase order. And we can maintain and manage these independently from one another. And slip between them in the Eclipse GUI. So one of the things I like to have on the screen is the memory being used. And you can set that in here by going to preferences. Appearance. Where is the memory heap? That's what I'm looking for. thought it was on appearance. Maybe it's under report design. Layout. And you can configure it specific to the project rather than to every project. And checking this off, you go to the internal browser, which I prefer to work with when I'm modifying the report. Hold on, we're going to find it. General. Show heap status right there. That I'm going to turn that on. And now what you can see is the amount of memory being consumed. Now I wonder if it's different depending on which project you're in. It's the same. Now that would be an interesting experiment to see if you can go to project specific. Projects. So there's the PO. Oh, it is different. So in the PO, and that may be another good reason to use separate perspectives, because you can see exactly what each is demanding. So this is using 129 megabytes of 252. So that is how you download a report. And begin modifying it. So here it shows you the project you're in. Here it also shows you the project you're in. What else has been helpful in here? I think turning off some of the animations is what I've done in the past. Let's do that. Windows, preferences. So show the heap status. So I'm going to check off enabling theming. And that. Actually, you put that back on. The animations are off. And under report design, I'm going to check off that. And under preview, again, if you check this off and then go to report design, preview, let's see, click on the web browsers. It's then set to use the internal browser. So I guess in theory, you could configure it for different browsers if you were doing multiple things. I hope that doesn't happen to you. So right now I'm going to just try bringing it up. This is the standard contract, the one I just downloaded in this session. And looking for the data perspective. I think it's right there, Data Explorer. Report parameters. And for form reports, everything is based off this system record ID. And when you need to test a different record number in the standard contract, you need to be able to locate the system record ID that you've selected. So for example, right now we're in purchase order. Okay. Okay. Well, let's say we start fresh. So Google. Okay, so I'm going to log in. And I'm going to go to standard contract. Contracts. Standard contract. And each of these standard contract IDs actually equates out to a spec ID, which is the system record ID. And when you browse into it in the address bar, you should be able to see it. And I'm using Chrome. So spec ID is right there. So that's what we would fill in the blank with in order to test the report with this standard contract. So I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to go ahead and yep, internal viewer. That's the connection. It's working. Now I'm going to run it directly to PDF. And I do that because all of the output is precisely correct in PDF, but in other formats it appears skewed or it doesn't maintain a perspective. So I'm going to go PDF here, and it's going to go ahead and try and generate this purchase order, and you see it popped up with that same record ID. Say okay. You don't see that in the actual execution once you've finished the report and promoted it. But there is SC 1075. And that's how, if you locate all of your test cases, which I'd recommend you do, and then keep them in a spreadsheet or something, those spec IDs, that's a simple way. Or you can also load them directly into the system record ID PARM, which I've also done. And I'm still running it, so I got to stop it. So then you would change this from a text box to a list box. There we go. And then you'd add in those values. That's SC 75. Is that right? Yeah. SC dash. And if you've got a lot of items to test, that may be the best way to do it, is to establish them in here. And make this static. Sorry. Here we go. There's that value, the display text, SC. And then again, the spec ID off the browser. It's right here. So right on the address bar right up here, spec type, spec ID right there. So put that back in here. So there's that spec ID. And then again, if you keep these in a spreadsheet and load them in, it's a good way to document and have things that will track back to an audit if you're ever audited about these test cases and the testing of them. So now I'm going to take this is required off. No, this is the default for each. If you were to take another one, let's add another one just for grins. So this is 75. I'm going to go down to 80. This one actually has a revision, which is interesting. So now, oh yeah, it says Compass PO on the, grab the spec ID, going back to Eclipse and putting in a new value. There's that spec ID, and this is SC 80. Thank you, dear. And if you want that to be the default in your test set, you'd want to set that as the default. Again, because these records are form report records, it operates on them one record at a time. But you can manage multiple tests in one project. So now standard contract, excuse me. Let's try one back here. I'm going to grab that. Paste it into Eclipse. So now we've got two tests in here. Oh, I'm going to go to the standard contract. There we go. And edit that. Be the new default for the project. Now, when I do that test to PDF, it should go to directly to 80. Here it looks like it's doing that. And there's 80. Okay. So what we've covered is form reports, how to locate them, and how to modify them for a specific record inside Trayriga. So in this case, we went to the standard contract screen, located a standard contract, opened up the standard contract object, and captured the spec ID off of the address bar. And I'm going to take a pause there and take a break.